So now we're on page 6. So another example, the Gemara, Kohanim into the fire, despondent suicide. So Mishachar Habayis Barishona, Niskatsu Kitos Shel Pirchei Kahuna. When the first base of Mikdash was destroyed, the Kohanim were so depressed, they basically went up and they jumped. And they jumped and they fell into the fire that was consuming the Beis Hamikdash. It seems to imply, the Gemara, that what they did was a correct thing. It does seem like that's the implication. Number 2, the Fuller's death, despondent suicide in Ketubos 103b. When Rebbe died, it said that anybody who was around Rebbe on the day of his death was Mezumanu l'chaya olam haba. He went to the next world. And of course, the fuller, the person who was washing his clothing every day, who was always with him every day, happened not to be there that day and was so upset that he went up to the roof and he jumped. And it says that Baskol came out, and it says that even the Koves, the fuller / launderer, went to Olam Haba. So the Ben Yehoyada, who lived in the 1800s, said, Kasha mihi tir lo la'abed atzmo b'yadayim. What gave him the right to jump off of the building, even if you're going to say that he was Mechal Shabbos, so that's something he should kill himself for. So anyway, he says here, V'nirali b'sakadaitechu lo hipil atzmo megad gavo harbe v'gam nizar hayashipal al ragla ba'ofen shelo yomus. It really, he tried not to kill himself. He just wanted to hurt himself for a chapara in the fact that he wasn't able to be malave the Rebbe to Shemayim. So that's what he's saying. Meaning he didn't really try to commit suicide. He tried to hurt himself, in order to be a kapara of some sort. The Shita Mikubetzes in the 1500s, he writes, hastening harag hakovis es azmo midas mishum dechil Shabbos lo nisasek behesped lahachis halak liber v'nafalag masmayim tainuskila kedin ha-mechal Shabbos. He heard that actually because he was Mechal Shabbos, he thought he should jump off, but still that doesn't jive well. There are other Gemaras about repentant, despondent suicide. One famous one, Reb Chia Barashi, who thought he sinned. He didn't really sin. His wife dressed up as a harlot of some sort and enticed him, but it was his own wife, but he felt bad that he was enticed nonetheless. And it says here, it says, Oto Tzadik Hayamisana Ad Shemes, he fasted until he died. Ba'osa Misa. So he fasted until he died. Talks about here in Bereshis Rabbah 65, Yossi ben Yoezer's Treda, that was violated the Shabbos and felt so bad that he took upon himself Skilas Reva Hereg Bechenek, all 4 types of meat onto himself as a form of kapara. And then Rav Kahana also was enticed by a matron of some sort. He didn't even sin, but he felt guilty, and he jumped off a roof, but Eliyahu saved him. So he actually didn't kill himself, but he tried to. So we see this concept of repentant, despondent suicide. We see by a hegmon. The story here by Turnus Rufus, he was destroying the Beis Hamikdash, and he came to Rabban Gamliel to kill him, and the hegmons basically asked Rabban Gamliel that if he jumps off the roof, will he vouch for him? And sure enough, he says that he jumped off the roof and the hegmon went to Olam Haba. In that case, it's clear that by the hegmon dying, Rabban Gamliel was off the hook. So in that case, he's sort of saving a life. So that's interesting analysis. That's actually, risking your life to save another person's life. He wasn't Jewish too, so it's complicated there. Gittin 57b talks about the mother and 7 sons. It's a question of whether or not it's Miriam or Chana, whatever her name is. But the point is that Rabbi Yehuda Amar Zo Isha V'Shiva Banea Asyu L'Kam L'Kami Kesar L'Plach L'Avodazar. The Kesar said, "Go bow down to the Avodazara." Each kid of the 7 kids refused to do it, and they all were killed. That's more of a Yerag Val Yavor, but at the end, it said that the mother ended up jumping off the roof, and a Baskol came out and said, that she did the right thing, or she ends up in heaven. And the Meiri explains, Avodah Zarah Gila Rai Shvichas Damim Omdim B'fnei Pikuach Nefesh, שיש בהם תנאים כבר ביארנו בסנהדרין, וזה שסיפר בכאן באוסם ילדים שנשבו לקלון. We're going to see another story about other tragic suicides, but he refers to that one here. So those had heterim, and here the Shiva Banim, also these 7 sons, similarly were moser themselves in order to not do Avodah Zarah, but the fact that she jumped off the roof was also because she didn't want to come to having to do Avodah Zarah. So we see another reason. If you have a reason here, it's more clear because it's the cardinal sins, Gilui Rash, Shvichas Damim, and Avodah Zarah. In this case, then it's okay to do the suicide. We're going to have a few more cases when we get to page 7. It's coming up.